Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Essay Writing. This is one of two videos for week 14. We are this week preparing for our final exam. In video 2, I go through some specific feedback for some of you from your writing practice activities in the last couple of weeks. So please do watch that, and you'll get some great pointers about how to fix some of your sentences and write a little more fluently, a little more naturally. In this video, I'm going to just remind you about what we have done so far this semester to help refresh your memory so you'll be ready for the final exam. If you'll remember, I said the final exam will be like a quiz on Canvas, but it'll be longer. And there will be grammar questions that we've studied this semester. There will be examples of writing for you to look at and answer questions about. And then you'll also do some of your own writing on the quiz as well, or on the exam as well. So my goal in this short video is just to quickly take you through the book and point out the things you should really pay attention to as you study and get ready for the final exam. Okay, so the important grammar points, the important things about paragraphs, and some vocabulary. And so we'll go through that quickly now, and I'm going to grab my pen here, and I really would like to change the color. How can I do that? I think I'm going to change it to red. Oh, how can I change it to red? That didn't work. What's going on here? No, that's not. Maybe this one. There we go. That's what I need. This one I'll just put back to how it was. Okay. All right. Just ignore those, please. All right. Let's get started here. Let me get rid of those. We don't need those. Okay. So unit 1, we learned about what a paragraph is. So important things here are, I'll show you. So simple present tense verbs. Make sure you know how to use those correctly. Then we move down to imperative forms, right? When you give directions, you need to know how to use those. So when you start your sentence with a verb, do this, put this on, etc. Okay. Simple past tense, use of I. So if you're doing a narrative paragraph, you need to know how to use basic past tense. Okay. That'll be important. You should take notes as you watch this. Make sure you know about the 4 features of a paragraph and how to do them. So topic sentence, about, and then the sentences should all be about one topic. First line should be indented, and it should have a concluding sentence. Okay, that's very important. We've talked about that all semester long. Okay, let's move on down here. All right. Moving along. Okay, I will be paying attention to capitalization and end punctuation. Okay, if you, for example, if you write Turkey like this here, that's going to be a problem because you need a capital letter on a country. We learned about this, and you've learned about it in the past, so there's really no excuse for not getting that right. And how you end your sentence, make sure you end it with a period or question mark or exclamation point, depending on the case. Titles, make sure you, if you write a paragraph, make sure you give it a title, make sure it's a good title, and pay attention to, we call it title case, how you, the words that you capitalize in a title. You capitalize the important words, not usually prepositions and articles. All right, so that's from Unit 1. This one we talked about making sure you use verbs in sentences so you can avoid fragments. You don't want to write sentence fragments on the exam. There will be some of that. Okay, there may be a couple of vocabulary questions taken from these word association and collocation activities that we have at the end of each unit. So be aware of those. Okay, well, it's Unit 1. In Unit 2, that was about brainstorming. Not a whole lot here. I'm not going to ask you a bunch of stuff about brainstorming. So you can pretty much skip over Unit 2, except this language focus will be important. Subject-verb agreement, right? Make sure your verb agrees with the subject. Okay, and be especially careful about the prepositional phrases. A lot of students got this wrong in the quiz, right? The owner of these restaurants is Italian. Of these restaurants is not the subject, right? This sentence is about the owner. That's one person. He owns these restaurants. That's a prepositional phrase, of these restaurants. And so we need to say he. Think about it like this. He, okay, Italian. We wouldn't say he are Italian, right? We would say he is Italian. So keep that in mind. Those can be very tricky. And I think almost every student got this one wrong on the quiz. So I will definitely put some of those in on the final exam. So be aware of that. Because it happens a lot, and it's a very common mistake that English learners make. Okay. So that covers everything from Unit 2. And then we get into the topic sentence. So how to write a good topic sentence. This one, I'm going to point out some of the grammar that you should use. Also, what is a good topic sentence? We know the features. It should be specific, but not too specific. On the exam, I may give you a pair of sentences and ask you which one is a better topic sentence. Okay, so you should know what makes a topic sentence good or bad. Okay, maybe it's too wide a topic, maybe it's way too narrow, maybe there just isn't much to say about it. So be ready for that type of question. I won't ask about controlling ideas. So don't worry about that part. Let's move along here. Commas, make sure you can use commas correctly for our grammar here. So remember when you have a list or to break up this sentence, so because they are located next to each other, we might expect these two nations to share many similarities. Remember, this kind of sentence, this example here, this is the only time you can really use because at the beginning of a sentence, when you have two clauses here. Like, you can't just say because they are located next to each other, right? That's not a full sentence. It's not a complete thought. In this case, it is a complete thought because we continue it and give this independent clause. We might expect these two nations to share many similarities. Okay, so commas are important, and making sure you avoid sentence fragments and splices. I may give you some example sentences and ask you if these are correct or incorrect. Make sure that you need a verb in every sentence. Make sure you have a subject in every sentence. Okay, so focus on this whole box here about comma splices and sentence fragments is very important. Okay, let's move along. Hope you're not getting too dizzy as I cruise through this book. All right, so that brings us into supporting and concluding sentences. Again, you know that a good supporting sentence pushes your paragraph forward. and gives more information about that one topic that your paragraph is about. Okay, so the important thing here will be some of the grammar. Of course, supporting sentences do all of these things. Keep that in mind when you write. And let me grab. Your language focus here, pronouns, right? Changing, for example, flight attendants becomes they the second time you refer to them to make your writing more interesting. So there will be some questions like that on there. And then concluding sentences we know are basically a one sentence summary of your paragraph. And they usually echo your topic sentence. Okay, any other grammar in this one? Again, pay attention to the vocab. There will be some vocabulary questions on the exam. Okay. Unit 5 was just a review of what a paragraph is. So let's quickly go through here and see if there's any grammar that we need to keep in mind. This is all review, right, of the previous 4 sentences. So they do grammar with articles here, the, on, etc. So review this, make sure you're comfortable with article use. And there's some general rules here. So on the test, I might give you a couple of sentences and ask you to put in the correct articles. Okay, so if you know that, that'll be easy for you. All right, and then after this part of the exam of the book, we got into different types of paragraphs. Right, so first we did definition paragraphs, where you define something, tell what it is, and so the grammar that we learned about in this one was, well, we learned about using quotation marks properly, because we're giving a definition. We might need to borrow something from the dictionary. In that case, we got to give credit to the dictionary by using quotation marks. So you need to review that, how to use those properly in a sentence. You can skip over this part for today. I won't ask you about that on the exam. I want to keep it focused more on the grammar and things we've discussed. This one too, you can skip that. This one you'll need, language focus, adjective clauses, how to use that and which and who to make longer, more interesting, more complicated sentences. So gumbo is a thick soup that contains seafood or meat. Samba is a rhythmic dance that is popular in Brazil. Okay. And then, of course, combining sentences for variety with and, but, or, and so. So that your sentences are not always super simple, you can make them a little bit more complicated, a little more sophisticated. And if you hear some knocking, please try to ignore it. My neighbors upstairs moved out this morning, and new neighbors will be moving in. I guess they're doing some construction, some remodeling before they move in. So hopefully it won't be too bad, but if you hear it, try to just ignore that. Okay, then we had process paragraphs, and this is where you explain how to do something, a sequence or a process. And for this one, you used a lot of imperative verbs, and you use those words that tell us order, like first, next, after that, etc. So you should be comfortable with those words. And I'll show you, point out some grammar here that'll be important here. So transition words and chronological order will be important. So these words, first, next, second, etc. Make sure you're comfortable with those. Commas again, commas and time expressions. When you have a time expression like first, we usually put a comma after that. 1 week later, comma. When you do this, comma. No, this one would not have one. Here's a simple science experiment that proves that plants produce oxygen. So here we don't need a comma. That one's okay. That one's correct. After that, there you got it. Okay. All right. Possessive adjectives. One of the parent penguins keeps the egg on one of their feet at all times. This is talking about one of the penguins, right? One of the penguins. So that we can't use there. We got to use its for that one. Again, vocabulary. Okay, moving along, we had descriptive paragraphs where you're describing something, so you need to use lots of good adjectives and appeal to the 5 senses. So what you need to know from this unit, the most important things will be, getting down to the grammar here, adjectives. How do you use adjectives? And putting them in the correct place. Okay, so focus in on that when you study. Making sure you put the adjective in the right place in the sentence. Okay, let's move on down to denotation and connotation. Dictionary definition versus how a word actually feels in the sentence, what emotional reaction you get. I'm probably gonna keep that off of this test. We got enough stuff to cover, so you can skip over that part. All right. Then, of course, prepositions of location. Should be familiar with those, how to describe where something is. Okay. We'll move down to our next unit, which was opinions, giving opinions. While I'm here, I'll go ahead and delete some of these things. Oops. Okay. All right, so we got our opinions here. How to write good opinions. You don't have to worry so much about this stuff. Let's see what. You should be able to identify a fact and opinion, though. If I give you a sentence and say, is this a fact or opinion? You should be able to identify that. Let's move along. Word forms. Yeah, you should be able to look at a word and know if it's a noun, verb, adjective, adverb, especially by looking at the endings. That'll be important. For example, I might give you a sentence like this. Students in this class are allowed to speak freedom, and ask you if it's correct, right? And you would, in this case, say, no, it's not correct because freedom is a noun. We don't speak freedom, we speak freely. We would need an adverb there to modify the verb speak. So be prepared for something like that. Of course, more vocab. And then we had narrative paragraphs. Again, that's where you're telling a story. So be comfortable with past tense there because we usually use past tense for those. let's see what else. Oh yeah, being consistent with your verbs is important. So don't flip-flop between tenses. Keep the verbs consistent. That will be more. I wouldn't ask you a question about that, but when you have to write your paragraph, that's something to keep in mind. To be consistent with the verb tenses in your paragraph. Okay, we're getting to the end here. Let's see, of course, we got some more vocab. And then this was just a review of everything related to paragraphs. And then we moved into essay, writing the essay. So that covers everything. So you can go back through the video again if you need to. Focus on the spots that I made in red. When I write your exam, I'm going to, just like I did today, go through the book here, and the spots where I stopped and marked things in red, I'll change examples in the book and make my own examples so that you can show me what you have learned so far this semester and your ability to deal with grammar, fixing mistakes, and writing your own good sentences. That's what I want to know that you can do. And you will also have an opportunity to write 1 or 2 paragraphs on the exam. And I'll probably give you a few different topics to choose from. So that covers everything for this video. There's a quiz on Canvas for you for this week, actually for both videos. So there are 2 short quizzes on Canvas. There's no actual writing to do this week, just the 2 short quizzes on Canvas. One goes with video 1, one goes with video 2. Next week will be makeup week, and we will not have class because we don't need to make anything up. That'll be my week to go through all of the grades, go through any missing work, and make sure everything is set. So please go through Canvas, make sure that you have completed everything. If any of your work is missing, post it, do it now. All the activities are still open. I didn't close any of them. So if you are missing work, go ahead and turn that work in on Canvas and send me a message so that I know, and I'll go back in and check it, and you can still get credit for that. And of course, as always, if you have any questions about anything, let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So I hope you've enjoyed this review. I know I went through it kind of quickly with the book there. I hope you didn't get too dizzy, but I thought it was an easy way to show you exactly what to focus on, so you can study very efficiently and not waste any time. All right, I will be in touch again through Kakao about the final exam, and I'll see you soon. Bye.